So this is a king. Okay. Unlike other pieces, king moves only one step. Okay. One move, one step. Okay. So I hope you know white will make the first move in a chess game, and then the black will make a move. And after that, only white can make the second move. Right? So that way, king can make one step move in all directions, which means the king which is on d4 here, it can move to these squares. You can choose one of these squares and make the king move. Okay, this is how a king move, and the king controls wherever it, so this is the king here, right? So the king controls these squares. These are empty squares. So the king controls these squares. Okay. So there is a very important rule which you have to know, and I will make every one of you repeat it. Okay. The king cannot go to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Okay. So example, there is a black rook here. This is white king. This is black rook. Okay, and by now you know what is control. The black rook controls these squares on its way. Okay, now let's look with respect to this king. Okay, these three squares. So earlier we said the king can move to all these squares, right? But now it cannot move to these three squares because the opponent is controlling. Okay, the king cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Okay, if you don't notice this rook controlling these three squares and then you move the king here or here or here, that would be considered illegal. Okay, illegal means against the rules. You make such illegal moves like twice, okay, in the tournament. Okay, you make one illegal and then you get back to the game, and after that you make second illegal, you will lose the game. Even if you are in a position to win in the next move and you make an illegal move, you lose the game. Okay, so we should not make mistakes. That is why that is the reason we must be strong at the basics. Okay, so this is very, very, very important rule. King will never move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Okay, let's repeat that rule one by one. Okay, Sai, repeat after me. King will not move to a square, or you can say king cannot move to a square because it is not possible, right? King cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Can you repeat again? King cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Okay, so which means if opponent is controlling those squares, you cannot put your king there. You got it? To those squares. Okay, now Anirudh, repeat after me. King. Anirudh, are you there? King.
Yes, ma'am.
King cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Again, king cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Okay, Isha, can you try to repeat whatever Anirudh said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you remember and tell? Or you want me to repeat?
No, I will tell. King cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent.
Very good. Can you do it again?
King cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent.
Okay. Aldrin, can you try? Very good, Isha. Aldrin, now can you try?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm.
King cannot move. Opponent piece controls the square.
Okay. So it cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. You understood it, right? So if an opponent piece is controlling that square, we cannot put our king there to that square. Same way, if we are controlling a square, our opponent's king cannot come there. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Piyush, can you try?
Yes, ma'am.
Try.
King cannot move to the square which is controlled by the opponent.
Very good. Can you try again?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
King cannot move to the square which is controlled by the opponent.
Okay. Shravan, can you try now? Others be on mute. Or you want to repeat after me?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I couldn't hear you clearly. Repeat after me. King
King
cannot
cannot
move to a square
move to a square
which is controlled
which is controlled
by the opponent.
by the opponent.
King
King
cannot
cannot
move to a square
move to a square
which is controlled
which is controlled
by the opponent.
by the opponent.
Okay, so be on mute, everyone. So that is the rule. Okay, so if the rook is not there, if the black rook is not there, the king can move one step in all direction. Okay, one step forward, one step backward. Okay, one step to the sides, both the sides. Okay, this side, and diagonally forward, diagonally backward. Here also diagonally forward, diagonally backward. Okay, so all this is possible only when there is no opponent controlling these squares. Okay, now we put a bishop here. This is opponent. And how does a bishop control? Bishop controls on its way. By now I hope you all remember this, right? What is bishop's way? It's diagonal, right? So bishop controls these two squares. Now the king is restricted to go to these two squares. The king cannot move to this square. It cannot move here. Other squares he can move. Okay, he can move to these squares. These two squares is not possible. Okay, so why? Because that is the rule. He cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Okay, so now let me give you an exercise. Okay, Aldrin, now tell me, can this king go to c6? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Check again and tell. We just learned a rule, right? Apply that and tell. Now all that you have to check is that square controlled by the opponent or it is safe?
No, ma'am.
Okay, why no?
Because opponent speeds
Which piece is that?
ma'am.
Opponents?
Opponent speeds he controls the
Okay, which piece does the opponent have? What is the name of this piece?
Dark queen, ma'am.
So opponent's queen. Okay, the queen is controlling here. So the king cannot move here. Okay, very good. Now, Anirudh, can you tell me if this king can go to this square? Is this safe to go?
Ma'am?
Is this a safe square for this king?
No, ma'am.
Why no? Who is controlling?
Because the black queen is controlling the squares, ma'am.
Which square? D7. Is it controlling D7?
It is controlling A.
No, I'm only talking about D7. My question is, can this king go to D7? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it safe to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the queen controlling this square?
No, ma'am.
Why it is not controlling?
It is only one king that is in black king, ma'am.
No, I'm asking you why this queen is not controlling here, because it is not on its way. Queen's way is this. Okay, this diagonal, this 6th rank, and then here, right? Like we learned in the last class. So since this square is not on the queen's way, it doesn't have any control on that square. So since there is no control, the king can safely go there. Okay, so you got it. Then Isha, can you answer? Tell me one more square where this king can go safely from here.
The king can go safely to B7.
So it can go safely to B7. Okay. Just a second. Okay, Piyush, can you tell me one more square? Safe square for this king? She said B7. This is done. He cannot go here. Okay, where else can he go safely?
Ma'am, he can go to C8, ma'am.
C8 is safe. Okay, now Shravan, is this square safe? D8. D8 safe for the king to go or not?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want blind yes or no here. I want you to check fully and tell me.
No, ma'am.
Okay, you said yes, you said no. Which answer is correct?
No, ma'am.
No. Why no?
King cross plus cross symbol, ma'am. Plus symbol, cross symbol, ma'am.
Okay, we didn't learn it as cross. We learned it as diagonal. Okay. So, Silapir, when they put plus sign as cross. Okay. They put a plus sign and they say it is a cross. Okay. So, it goes diagonally. Okay. That square is on the queen's way. Very easy to tell. Okay. So, the king cannot go there. Okay. You got that right? Okay. So, be on mute. The same concept. King cannot jump over this piece. Okay, if it is its own piece, he cannot jump. If it is opponent's piece, he can capture. Okay, but you know what, this piece should not have any support. By now you know what is support, right? So this piece should not be supported. Okay, so now he can capture. Is there any support to this piece? Some other black piece supporting this pawn on e3? No. Then you can capture the unsupported piece. Okay, but say for example there is a bishop here. Okay, now we can say this bishop is giving support to this pawn. The bishop is giving support to this pawn. Now the king cannot capture the pawn. You know why? The same rule applies. King cannot go to a square which is controlled by the opponent. The bishop is supporting this piece, and also we can say it is controlling. If the pawn is not there, we can say the bishop is controlling this square, right? So the king cannot go. It cannot capture the pawn here. Since the pawn is having the support, it cannot capture. So for the king, main important thing is it can capture one step in any direction, but that piece should not have any support. If it has a support, the king cannot capture it. What happens if I capture the pawn? It will become illegal move. Okay, it will be like I went against the rule. What is the rule? King cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. That is the rule. Okay, so if it is a supported piece, king cannot capture. If it is an unsupported piece, imagine there is no bishop, there is only pawn, then king can go and capture. Okay, so now we will do a small exercise. Aldrin, tell me if this king can capture the rook.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why are you telling it can capture? What did we learn?
Because it opponent's piece.
Yeah, it is opponent's piece. And then does that piece have any support?
No, ma'am.
So we say that as an unsupported piece. Tell.
Unsupported piece.
It is alone. It is not supported by anyone. Okay. So the king can capture the unsupported piece. By capturing this, see now the king is not in any danger, right? By capturing this, king is safe. So it can capture. Okay, very good.
Yes.
Now, Sai, I want you to answer the squares which this king can move. You have to see the full board, apply the rule, and tell me. What are the safe squares for this king on e3?
E4.
Then
E2.
okay. See, this is black side, so e2 will be always here. Okay, we are viewing the board from black's point of view. Okay, then that's all. Only two squares.
F3, ma'am.
Can it go to f5? F3. Then where else can it go?
F2, ma'am.
F2, and then this square f4. Okay, very good. So now tell me, can it go to these three squares?
No, ma'am.
Why no?
Because rook is controlling them.
The opponent is controlling, so it cannot move. If the opponent is not there, now can it move? For example.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
the opponent is not there, it can move. Okay, very good. Now there is a king here. Okay, Isha.
Yes, ma'am.
In the immediate move, can I put my king to d4? Is
No,
this a
ma'am.
right? So how many steps king will move?
It will need 2 steps to move.
Two
Wait,
steps.
no.
It will need 2 steps, but my question is, how many squares it will move in one move? In one turn, how many squares it can move?
It can move only 1 square.
One square in which direction?
In all of the directions.
Super. So now, okay, you be on mute. Shravan, now to reach here, where should I go first? I mean, where should I take the king? Which square?
Yeah.
What is the first step?
E5. D4.
E5. E5. Then I can go here. Okay, very good. So it can go here and go like this diagonally. Okay. Okay, be on mute. Now, Piyush, can you try this? Okay. See, you have to apply the rule. This king cannot go to these squares, which is controlled by the bishop. This is opponent's bishop, and it controls these squares. So this king cannot go here to d3. Now, with the rule in the mind, now you have to capture this bishop. How will you capture?
Ma'am, first we should go to E4, ma'am. Then we should capture, ma'am.
E4 is here. Then can you jump and capture? No, right?
No, ma'am.
Where will you go first?
E3. First we should go to E3 and then capture, ma'am.
You should take the king to E3, and in the next move you can capture. Is it safe to capture this bishop? Does this bishop have any
Yes,
support?
No, ma'am.
So first answer is yes, it is safe to capture. It doesn't have any support. Okay, very good. Now Sai, tell me, I want to take this king. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to take this king to this square C4. Is it possible? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
How it is possible? So where should I go first? You have to remember the rule. The rule is more important here when it comes to king.
First capture the rook.
Very good. So you capture the rook because the rook is not supported. Now, can you go here? How many moves will you take to go there?
4 moves, ma'am.
4 moves. I am telling you, you can do it in 3 moves. You don't need to take 4 moves from here.
Yes, ma'am.
From D1, you can make 3 moves.
Yes, ma'am.
Find those 3 moves.
First go to D2, ma'am.
Okay, D2 then.
D3 and D3.
Then C4.
Diagonally C4.
Okay, very good. Now, Aldrin, can you find one more way to reach to this square D4? King is here. You only have to use 3 steps. But another way, 3 steps, reach to C4.
Ma'am, go to C2, ma'am.
Okay, C2 then.
And go to C4.
Can we jump from C2 to C4?
No, ma'am.
Then where will you go next?
Next, go to C3 and capture.
And after that, you have to go to C4. Okay, C2, C3, and C4. That is how it moves. Okay, very good. Okay. Piyush, can the king capture the bishop? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Why?
The king is supporting, ma'am.
Very good. So king is supporting the bishop. That is what I want as answer. Okay, super. Aldrin, so from here, I want you to tell the safe squares for the king, wherever this king can move. All the squares which this king can move.
Ma'am,
Mm.
ma'am, it can move E4, ma'am.
Then
Then it can move to D3, ma'am.
then
Then go to C4, ma'am.
that's all. Any square left?
Ma'am, go to C3, ma'am.
Super. Okay, can it go here?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so since bishop is controlling, it cannot go here. Rook is controlling, so all these squares, I mean these three squares, it's not possible. Okay, very good. Good job. Okay. Okay. Kashvi, did you understand? Were you in the class, or you want me to repeat again? So can I ask you questions? Okay, repeat after me. You can answer, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, before that, repeat. King
King
will never go to a square
will never go to a square
which is controlled by the opponent.
which is controlled by the opponent.
So that is the very important rule. Okay. So now, tell me the squares where this king can move safely. You have to apply the rule. I couldn't hear you clearly. Can you repeat?
I think we need four, ma'am.
E3, right? Did you say E3?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
What else?
Then we can go to E1.
E?
E1, ma'am.
E1. No, king moves only one step in all directions. Okay.
So
we
we can move to E2.
E2 is not possible from here. I'm telling from here where all it can go. From here. What are all the possible squares this king can move? I'm asking you. You don't need to take this king away. You don't need to move. I'm not asking you to capture any piece, okay? From here, this is possible. Where else this king can move? From here.
Ma'am, I'm not getting.
Okay, so listen. So king can only move to a square which is safe. Okay, safe means it should not be controlled by the opponent. By now, I hope everyone know what is control. Empty squares on the rook's way is wherever it controls. Okay, so all these squares, this rook is controlling. All these squares, this bishop is controlling. Okay, so this is white, and we are black. We have a black king. Okay, so this black king cannot move to this square because bishop is controlling. Opponent is controlling, so he cannot move to f5. See, the bishop is controlling here and also the rook is controlling. So he cannot go to d5. Okay, he cannot go to d4 because the rook is controlling. He cannot go to d3 because the rook is controlling. So all you have to see is one squares around the king. Generally, a king will move one step in any direction, but only one step. So one step means one step forward or backward, sideways or diagonal. Okay, diagonal forward, diagonal backward, but only one step. You can choose among these squares if there is no threat, if there is no opponent. But now, among these squares, this square is omitted because the opponent is controlling. This square is also omitted, this one and this one. So all these four squares, 1, 2, 3 on D file, and then this F5 is having opponent's control. Now the king's movement is restricted only to these safe squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now this king can move only to any one of these four squares. So you can choose any one of these four squares and make the king move. Okay, and then next thing which we learned is, say for example, this king is moving here. This square is safe. Okay, now king can capture the opponent, but that piece whichever the king is capturing should not have any support. See, this bishop is not having any support. One step, okay, the bishop is one step downwards to the king, but it is not having support from any other piece. So the king can capture the unsupported piece. Okay, let's take this as the position. So if we take this as the position, king is here, okay, to his one step wherever he can move, right? Opponent's bishop is there, but this bishop is having a support. Okay, the rook is supporting the bishop here. Imagine if the bishop is not there in the scene, what will happen? The rook will still be controlling this square, right? On e6 because it's on the rook's way. Now the rook is giving support to the bishop. This king cannot capture the bishop now because this bishop is supported. King cannot capture a supported piece. If a piece is having support, king cannot capture. Only if the piece is alone, if the piece is unsupported, the king can capture. Okay, so any doubt till here? So I will answer. So any doubt till here? Okay. Doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so be on mute. We'll have a quick revision. Listen to me. Be on mute and listen to me. Okay, the first point is king can move one step in any direction. Second important thing is, see in chess, right? First white will make a move, then black will make a move, and after that white will make a move, then black. Like that, they alternatively play. Okay, you cannot, as a white, if you are a white player, you cannot make two moves in a game. You can make only one move. Okay, like that, for one move, one turn. Okay, the king can move only one step, and you can pick any direction you want and put the king one step. Okay, only one step. Now that step, okay, whichever you chose, should not have any opponent's control. Okay, because this is the rule, very important rule. King cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent. If you find any opponent piece controlling that square, please don't put the king there. If you put it, then in tournaments your opponent will claim that you have made an illegal. Like that, if he claims for 2 times, then you will lose the game. So you must be very careful of this rule. You should never put a king to a square where there is opponent's control. By now you all know what is control, right? If there is an opponent's rook, and if it is on the rook's way, which means rook is controlling. If there is a bishop, and then if that square is bishop's way, then the bishop is controlling that square. Okay, I hope you know those things, right? Any doubt in that? Control, attack, support. Okay, then the third. Okay, so the third thing which we learned is king can capture the opponent piece, but that piece should not have any support. If the opponent's piece is alone without any support, and if it is on king's way, like one step to the king, okay, one step is what is the king's way. Okay, so if it is on the king's way, the king can capture, but if the piece is having support, king cannot capture it. Okay, if the piece is alone, the king can capture. If the piece is like having a support, then the king cannot capture. And one more important thing, this is not possible in chessboard. Okay, this position is not possible. This is illegal. It is not possible. You know why? The same rule applies. If there is a white king, this white king's way is this one. Sorry, one step. This one. Okay, that was my by mistake. I clicked that accidentally. So here is the king on d4, and these are the squares. The king can move provided they are safe. Okay, which means this king is controlling all these squares. Okay, now you take the opponent. White is controlling all these squares so that the black king cannot come to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Black king cannot come to a square which is controlled by the white. Now you do the same thing here for the black. Black is controlling these squares, and the white king cannot come under this control. Okay, the same rule is what applied here. The same thing whatever we said. Okay, king cannot go to a square which is controlled by the opponent. Black king is the opponent, it is controlling, so the white king cannot go here. Same way, if we take here, the white king is the opponent, and our black king cannot come to these squares. So that is the reason king and king will be at least one square apart. They can never be next to each other. That position is simply not possible in chessboard. Okay, and one more important thing about the king is king will always be there in the board. There is nothing like capturing the king and putting it away from the chessboard. It is not possible. King can only be checkmated, and this checkmate concepts we will be learning in the future classes. Okay, after 2 or 3 classes we will be learning what is check, what is checkmate, how to find that, how to get away from that, and all we will learn. Okay, so you know, in olden days, if A country and B country fights, and then you just say A lost, A country lost, that king lost in the battle, you know, the B country, they won't kill this king. Instead, they will put him in jail. So that is what they were doing. Okay, the same thing here. Okay, we cannot capture the king. Capturing the white king is not possible. Capturing the black king is not possible. Capturing the queen is possible. Okay, you can use your bishop and capture the queen if the queen is on the bishop's way and your opponent ignored it. Okay, ignored the attack. You can capture the queen and put it away from the chessboard. But that thing is not possible for the king. King can never be captured. Okay, so till the end of the game, both the kings will remain in the chessboard. Okay, remember that. So that we will learn when we are learning checkmate and all, how to checkmate the king and all. Okay. So a quick revision. So king cannot go to a square which is controlled by the opponent. And always remember, both the kings cannot be together. They must be at least one step apart, because that is the rule. Okay. They can never go to the square which is controlled by the opponent. It's the important rule that is applied. And then this is how the position would be legal. Okay, they can never be next to each other, next square. It is not possible. Okay. Now what happens if you are playing white and your opponent is taking the king and putting it here? Then you have to claim your opponent has made an illegal move. Like how you have invigilators, right? When you write exam, like that, when you play chess tournament, there will be a person who we call arbiter. Like how they have umpire for cricket, right? Like that we have arbiter. So if your opponent make this mistake, you immediately have to get up and tell. Yeah, you should not change anything. The board should be like that, okay, to show them. So you have to tell, see, look, he has made an illegal move, and then they will note it down. So that's how you claim an illegal move. If he makes mistake again, if he makes one more illegal move again, then he will lose the game. He or she, whoever is your opponent, okay. Uh, So, Isha, can you tell any one rule which we learned today? Anything. You can
Yes,
make one or two sentences out of it.
king cannot move to a square which is controlled by the opponent.
Okay. Kashvi, can you tell any one thing? Apart from whatever Isha said. So, that is the main rule. Apart from that, what else did we learn?
King cannot capture another king.
Okay. Fine. Capturing the king is not possible. Okay. Even other pieces cannot capture the king. Even a bishop cannot capture the king. Capturing is not possible if that piece is a king. Okay. Aldrin, can you tell anything which you learned today apart from whatever is told earlier?
Yes, ma'am. The king
Tell.
can move only one direction, which is all the directions.
Aldrin, be on mute. Piyush, answer. You want to tell something, Aldrin? Okay, after Piyush finishes, you can tell Aldrin. Be on mute. Piyush, now answer. So, any one sentence which you learned today.
The king end.
King.
Other pieces cannot capture the king.
Yeah, other pieces cannot capture the king. Yeah. Okay. So now, Aldrin, what do you want to tell?
Ma'am, king can move only one step in any directions.
Very good. Okay. Shravan, now do you remember where we put our king? Okay, if we were playing white, before, we were arranging pieces, right? Earlier in second class or third class, we learned to arrange the pieces before we start the game. We put rook, knight, bishop, and all, right? So, in which square we will put the king? Light square or a dark square? Can you imagine? Try remembering and tell.
Light square. Light and dark, ma'am.
Light and dark is not possible. It can be only either in light square or in a dark square. So where do we put the king? I'll show you the board. Now you imagine, okay, this is from white's point of view. Where will the white king come when you
White
arrange
king.
the chessboard?
White king, white, brown, light.
ಇದು ಲೈಟಾ ಡಾರ್ಕಾ?
You imagine arranging the pieces.
Dark. Ma'am, dark, ma'am.
Very good, dark square. So the king will come on E1. Okay, very good. Any doubt? Okay, I have to ask Anirudh and Sai, right? So Anirudh, can you make any sentence? Any simple sentence? Whatever you learned today.
Both the things cannot be. Both the kings cannot be. The
Next to
near
each other. Very good, super. Very good, super. Sai, now can you try? Anirudh, be on mute. Let him try. Very good, Anirudh. Sai, now you tell.
Thank you, ma'am.
You remember, recollect, and tell. Any sentence is fine. Any one sentence which you learned today.
What's illegal move?
What is illegal? Which is illegal?
Moving
Hmm?
moving
Moving king where?
move to the square opposite peace coin. Peace coin.
I couldn't get it. Can you repeat again? Okay, so if it is illegal, you can tell in both the ways. Okay, if a piece is controlling and you put the king there, opponent's piece is controlling, and to that square, if you put the king, that becomes an illegal move. Or putting both the kings together, there is already an opponent's king, and then you put your king next to it, that is an illegal move. Okay, and what else? Removing, capturing the king is illegal. Okay, so if it is illegal, you can tell in those ways. Okay, so any doubt, any question? Okay, so shall we finish the class now? So if possible, you go through this recording again. Okay, I will give you homework.
Okay, ma'am.
I will also give you some rules. Today I will give you some rules. I want you to repeat it at least 3 times. 5 times would be good. 10 times would be awesome. Okay, so it's up to you. If you want to do it 10 times, you can do it 10 times. Okay, or if you want to do it 5 times, you can do it 5 times. Or if you don't want to do it, please at least do 3 times. Okay, so I will send you the rules. You voice record it and send it to me, to my number. Okay, so that it gets registered. Okay, so this is very important to remember. Okay, bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye, bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Homework I will give later. Today I will send you the recording. Okay, so that we remember this rule. Bye.